All right, buddy. I had never seen any Steven Seagal movie ever before. So what? I'm gonna ask you first, right off the bat. What do you think about Steven Seagal in general?
Not a big fan, but I don't have anything against him.
Have you seen other movies that aren't this before?
I honestly don't know. I think I've only seen bits and pieces of Steven Seagal movies on TV.
Yeah, and I don't even think I've seen that. So
So I saw parts of this.
yeah, but you finally watched
But
the full thing.
yeah, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, it was fun. It's basically Die Hard on a boat, but
Yeah.
that's fun. Gary Busey is in it, one of my favorite actors of all time. I know Stevie hates him because of the Buddy Holly story, but I love me some Gary Busey, and he was pretty fun in this. So there's a lot of not good acting in this, but there's like two really good performances, which I would say are Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey. And Steven Seagal is not that good at acting. I don't think he is.
You like Tommy Lee Jones in this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's just like doing himself, but I don't know. He's always so entertaining. That's how I feel about it. He's going over the top, but that's the kind of movie that this is. I think it definitely worked for this. I do.
That's fair. It is, the movie is definitely over the top, but I like when he plays the straight guy.
Oh, he's good.
That's just
That's the thing. He's good at it all. I think he's good at it all.
I disagree with you there, but okay, we can move on.
That's fair. But I don't know. I enjoy over the top Tommy Lee Jones acting, so fair enough. But yeah, he can definitely do it both, in my opinion.
Did you like him in Batman and Robin?
Yeah, I do. I guiltily enjoy that movie, actually.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh god!
Oh, it's fun. You got bat nipples, the bat credit card.
Yeah.
And it's George Clooney as Batman. I mean, you're never gonna see that again, so it's cool.
Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong one. I'm thinking of Batman Forever.
Batman
The
Forever.
one with Tommy Lee Jones
Right. I forgot that he's not in that one. Right. He's in. We're not talking about Batman. Let's get back on track. Under Siege. So the basic plot is they're taking this ship to be decommissioned for some reason.
Because it's from World War II.
Okay, yeah, and they're decommissioning it and they're taking all the weaponry off it. But Tommy Lee Jones, in cahoots with Gary Busey, infiltrates the ship. And Tommy Lee Jones he poses as a rock and roller. He's like the band that's playing for the captain's birthday.
He's the harmonica player.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I really do enjoy his performance because he made me laugh. He's like, music is my life, baby. that shit's making me laugh. And I'm not gonna get to it later, but something with this kill was kind of weird because obviously he's the villain. Like, I don't think that's a spoiler. Like, he's the villain. This is an action movie, by the books action movie. He's gonna die. And same with Gary Busey. And honestly, towards the end, I was like, when did Gary Busey die? But he got blown up. He got blown up like a while back, and I totally missed it. Well, I didn't miss it. I was just like, oh yeah, he blew up. I forgot. At the end, I was like, why aren't they showing what happened to Gary Busey? But they already did, of course. I was like, oh yeah. But you know what? I will talk about that right now. So it's pretty good practical effects. Honestly, I enjoy a lot and the fighting in this is hit and miss. It looks good sometimes, and sometimes it looks really silly. Like the shit Steven Seagal is doing, like they're having like a hissy fit. Tommy Lee Jones and Steven Seagal at one point, like doing this, and it looks really funny. And there's like
totally agree with you.
A couple moves, like when Steven Seagal flips someone's wrist or something, it just looks a little weird. And apparently
that's his Aikido.
Yeah, I was just gonna get into that. Yes, the that's what it's called, Aikido. It's not really deadly it's not a deadly martial art. It's real. It's a thing, but it's not like lethal. It can't actually hurt. It's more like a dance, to what I understand. But it I guess for Hollywood it works. So, because it's not real. But
a couple of his moves look good, but that's it.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said hit and miss. Some of it looks good, but some of it does not look good. But it's still funny. And yeah, there's like elements of a lot of different action movies in this. Obviously, Die Hard. It's like Die Hard on a boat. Terrorists on a boat. But other things like MacGyver, I got some MacGyver feels with when he's like making the bombs out of condoms and shit and like making these weird gadgets. I'm like, okay, this is like MacGyver. But it's not MacGyver and it's not Die Hard. It's motherfucking Under Siege. One note that I would give it, this is a dumb note, but it's on something I honestly thought and I felt. I would have liked for them to say the movie in the movie. This is one of those movies where I thought they were going to say the movie in the movie. Like, I thought someone was going to be like, oh no, we're under siege. And I was like so ready for that. I would have really enjoyed that. Like,
I would like that too.
Because it's that kind of movie, that sort of cheesy 80s fun. I guess it's 90s technically, but it feels 80s. 92, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
I think that's right. You know what, let's look it up on IMDb too. See if it can give me any other information. Under Siege. Yeah, and people say this is the best one, right? Generally.
Probably.
Of Steven Seagal's catalog. And, I mean, it wasn't bad, it was even good, but, you know, compare that to the other action stars like Schwarzenegger, Van Damme. Like, they got a few better ones. Like, you know, they got a few of the catalog. This is like the good one, to my knowledge. You know, again, I haven't seen the other ones, so I can't really judge. But that's just kind of interesting, I thought. Under Siege, 1992. Good old, not very good cover of just a big Steven Seagal's head. That's basically all it is. It's so boring. I mean, you got a little drawing of a boat and stuff, but I've seen much better movie covers. Anyway.
Steven Seagal, he kind of has the prestige of, like, Nick Cage, where, like, people don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but, like, it's entertaining.
I think it's a little different. I see what you're trying to say, but I stand by this 100%. Nicolas Cage is, like, 100 times of a better actor than Steven Seagal, I would say. I really do believe Nick Cage, like, actually has chops, and he can be really good. I don't think Steven Seagal can be great. He can be passable maybe at times, but he's definitely not great. And
you're 100% right, because Steven Seagal could not be in The Family Man.
Yeah, and, like, have you seen Pig yet? The one with Nick Cage recently?
No, I haven't.
That is, wow, fantastic. He did such a good job in that. But yeah, that's just to prove my point about how great Nick Cage is as an actor. Yes, he's done stupid, bad movies, but he's always the most entertaining part of those bad movies. Anyway, we're not talking about Nick Cage. Him in this movie would have been good too. And it has a good cast. And it's funny, there's only one woman in this whole movie, Erica Eleniak as Jordan Tate. And, you know, they have to have the token one hot woman, right, I guess. Makes sense. And they explain her on the boat, obviously. She's a Playboy model, and she was going to jump out of the cake for this birthday
Miss
party.
July 89.
Yeah. And it's a kind of funny scene. She takes too many sleeping pills or something, so she ends up jumping out of the cake. And she's doing her sexy dance. I was like, why isn't she stopping when she realizes there's, like, dead people around her and stuff? I was like, oh, her eyes are closed. Oh, okay. Why would you do that? I guess it's sexy, right? That's the sexy thing to do. I don't know, but I don't know. I did like that. I thought that was funny. So, segue to sort of the second woman of the movie when Gary Busey is in drag. Because we got to talk about Gary Busey in drag. Did we lose a G-Bergs?
No.
Oh, no, you're here. That's okay. I just heard a bing bong, and I thought you were gone, but that's okay. But yeah, Gary Busey is in drag at one point, and I want to talk about it because it was interesting the way this went about. Gary Busey, first of all, he uses some not so nice language and he says something about he's a cook, because Steven Seagal is the cook of the ship, and Gary Busey says something about him being a faggot, or, you know, whatever. It was the 90s. They said the word. But then
so
later
he hits like a faggot.
Yeah, but then later you know, he's in drag, so I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. And then also another thing about him being in drag, he's sort of an asshole, Commander Krill, his character. So everyone sees him in drag is like, oh, he's in drag. He's not that bad. He's a good guy after all, because he's in drag. I thought that was kind of funny too. It was like, because that's what makes a good person, being in drag. I mean, it couldn't hurt, but it's not like the defining factor of being a good person. Oh yeah, I thought I missed that hoop, but no, we good. I took it. So we are currently under siege right now, talking about Under Siege. But yeah, do you have anything to add about the shit that I said, G Brooks?
Yeah, well, it made no sense the jumping out of the cake scene, but I guess if she had her eyes closed.
That was the only thing. It just barely explains it with her eyes being closed. Yeah. Hero.
And I thought it was kind of like tacked on. I really thought Miss July was going to be part of the siege, and I was waiting for her to turn.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird. Like, they are planning this party, you would think, to bring in the terrorists, but then they're also just planning the party with elements like the strippers. So it's like, it's a weird middle ground.
It's like, why did you actually have to bring her on? Like, I that's the part I don't get.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I don't understand why Gary Busey did the drag thing. Like, I mean, and then he goes into the captain, and he's still in like half drag. He's got his wig off. It's like, I just didn't really. I'm like, what's going on right now? I'm like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
What is happening?
I agree completely. I'm just gonna address the chat real quick. Hero says Duke Dubhouse. Hello, Duke Dubhouse. Can we get a shout out for Duke Dubhouse? If I have any mods in there, if not, I'll do it. Spaghetti, you're a mod though too. If Stevie's not here. Anyway, it's Lost Lands Festival weekend. Why you know turning up? If you mean why I'm not turning up, like I'm not doing rap music right now, we're gonna do rap music after this review. That's what's happening. Raid Lost Lands after, we could, man. If you're still here and you remind me, I will do it. But you gotta be here for the party. When we do the raid, because I'll probably forget. But let's. Oh yeah, thank you, Spaghetti, for shouting out Duke Dubhouse, and please follow Duke Dubhouse if you haven't yet, because they are a pal. Welcome back. It's been a while, but you know we're pals. You're welcome, friend. You are so welcome. Back to Under Siege. So there was one thing, I think I started talking about it, but then I trailed off. Tommy Lee Jones, the fight scene with Steven Seagal. I talked about some elements of it with the hissy fit, but there's something that, I don't know if you noticed it, I rewound this part literally like 10 or 12 times, because I wanted to see if it made sense, and it didn't. I kept rewinding. I was like, this doesn't quite make sense. And what I'm talking about is there's a part, Tommy Lee Jones has a knife. Steven Seagal has a knife. They're going at each other, and Steven Seagal grabs Tommy Lee Jones's knife with his mouth.
Yeah.
And then he stabs him with the other knife that he already has, and that part makes sense. But then the knife is just gone all of a sudden. Like, they don't show the knife coming out of his mouth or him taking it out of his mouth or anything. But in the next scene, it's just gone. And that was some continuity, I think, just a little bit. But it happened so quick that I bet they're like, oh, whatever, you know. Who's going to notice that? I'm going to notice that.
Yeah, and I have to say, if two guys are in a knife fight, there's no way one of them's catching a knife with his mouth and not bleeding afterward.
Yeah, that's unrealistic.
Well, I mean, the whole movie's unrealistic, but it's just like...
It's an over-the-top action movie. Yeah.
That's so over-the-top. Like, why would he have to bite the knife in his mouth? It's so stupid. It was probably like Steven Seagal's idea, I could imagine.
I wouldn't be too surprised. It'll be so badass.
I bite the knife. It would look badass for you to have a knife in my mouth.
Oh, fuck. Steven Seagal. There's whole videos of him just running weird online. That's the only thing I've seen before this movie of him, is him running weird online.
I got a couple questions for you, Doug. What did you think of the dialogue in this movie?
Some of it is bad, but some of it was okay. There was like,
I thought most of it was pretty good.
There was like I think it was more the acting. I don't think the dialogue was actually terrible for this kind of movie. It was more the acting that I think for some of it. Some of it's really wooden. Like I forget the character's name, but like the one like higher up that's short and had red hair and his hair was also short. He had really wooden hair, and he has the line about the captain's birthday, and he's saying it so wooden. I was like, this guy sucks. But yeah, with that, like we were saying with that scene, yeah, it just looked a little weird with the knife in his mouth and then just disappearing out of nowhere.
What did you think of that dancing scene at the beginning? Or, go cue ball, go.
Oh, I honestly forgot about that, but yeah, you're right. It is kind of funny.
It's so random.
Now that you mentioned it, I do remember it. Go cue ball. But yeah, I remember what I was gonna say. So we some more of the plot that I wanted to address was the reason that Steven Seagal is the cook. He's supposed to be this crazy Navy SEAL. He has all these stats and stuff, and I forget, they explain why, but I forget why he was stripped of his rights to be a regular officer, so he had to be a cook. And some other thing that I don't know, but he chose a cook, obviously. So that's why
he was gonna get court-martialed.
Yeah, and he led some expedition, and a bunch of his guys died, and that's why. Or
in
something.
Panama.
In Panama, and they keep mentioning Panama. Oh yeah, and there's something. You know the guys that were like, there's all the scenes around the big oval office table or whatever with all the people in the military talking to each other, and they're like, what are we gonna do? There's the two guys that are like in cahoots, and they're like, we'll blame it all on the cook if this goes to shit. And they never, did they get their comeuppance? I don't think they ever got their
No.
Like nothing happens I guess that's realistic, but like for this kind of movie, I sort of expected something to happen there at the end with being like, you're crooked fucking officials, you're crooked, see, something like that, you know. But
yeah, this movie doesn't really pay off. Like the third act, it kind of falls apart.
It's just sort of like, oh yeah, it's over, and we didn't build it up that much, but now Steven Seagal and this woman are making out. Oh yeah,
the whole submarine part comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden Steven Seagal swimming to the submarine. I'm like, how? Like, you swim to the open ocean? Damn, he's a good swimmer. And carrying equipment, and then
yeah,
he threw something into the sub, and then they hit it with a weak explosive later, I think, is how the sub exploded, because remember, it was the issue that they didn't have heavy shells on the ship when it came to fight time.
Right,
they only had the small shells. So I think he like made some kind of explosive there and put it in that bag, and then he threw the bag into the sub or onto the sub somewhere. But like, it wasn't super clear. I don't know if it was clearer for you.
No, it wasn't. There's a few things like that where I didn't really get it, but you just sort of let it slide because it's not that big a deal. But yeah, this movie is, and I think even Die Hard itself has shit like that. Like, they show up in a van in Die Hard, and there's no equipment in there. They show it's empty, and then later on there's a bunch of equipment in it.
And there's an ambulance in it.
Yeah, so there's a few. So even Die Hard isn't devoid of fuck ups.
That's
and
right.
This is copying that movie. So I feel like this genre, like, usually there's gonna be a lot of shit like that where it's like, it doesn't make that much sense, but it's, it's cool. Just fucking cut it together and we've got a fucking picture, baby. But yeah, this is generally liked online. It has like 67% on Rotten Tomatoes and like 80 something for the audience, which is pretty good. I am now running out of stuff to say about it. What do you got?
Me too.
Yeah, G-Bergs, you want to rate it? You want to call it?
I'm ready.
All right, we're going to switch to rap mode soon. But first, I'll rate it. All right, Under Siege. I'm going to give it a solid 7.4. I know it's weird. I've been doing weird ratings today. But that's what I feel. That's what my heart feels. 6.5 out of 10. For G-Burks, 7.4. Yeah, no, it was dumb, but it was fun. You know, I definitely enjoyed it. So yeah, let's put on a beat right quick, and then it'll be good.
It's not a bad movie, but if someone told you it was bad, you'd be like, okay, I get it.
No, exactly. All right, I guess that's the end of movie reviews. G-Burks, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Doug. Bye, everyone.
All right, take care, friend. Goodbye. See you in the chat. Bing bong. Bing bong. Okay. Here is 80s beat instrumental from Patrick Jenkins. Oh yeah, 7.4 out of 10 Dougs for Under Siege. This movie is on Netflix. So is Driven, the other movie I reviewed tonight. But yeah, 7.4 out of 10 Dougs for Under Siege. Silly, over the top, but fun.